Hey guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the 12th part of the F1 Manager Minardi Manager Career mode, where we're announcing the final two components of our car, because we've announced all of our personnel contracts, and we announced our engines last episode, and now this episode I'm going to be announcing the final two things for our team, which are the electronics and the brakes. Now, as you can see on the screen, we kept Magneti Marelli electronics. I suppose it's no surprise there really, because obviously Magneti Marellis are the best. They're Italian. We've been using them this season. They're very good. They've sent us lots of different models, improvements. They're rated 100, their newest model is. So it's brilliant. There's just no reason as to why we wouldn't keep them, because obviously same country as Minardi, done well for us, and they're brilliant. Because as you can see here, expertise is 100, resources 100, overall rating 100. Best electronics company in the game, to be honest. And they've done well for us this season, and annual fee is only 50 grand, which, you know, when you look at engines, which are like, we're talking about 15 to 20 million, and brakes, which are about 1.5 million, there's no reason why to not get the best electronics in the game, because they're so cheap. So why would you bother getting worse electronics when really electronics are so cheap in the first place? There's no reason as to why you get worse ones. But as you can see, other teams supplied here, we've got BAR, Benetton, Ferrari, Sauber and Williams. And obviously, just look at that Ferrari, you know, they're a very good team. Obviously it's not McLaren, but to show a Ferrari trust using Magneti Marellis as well, it shows that they really are a good electronics company. And I suppose it's also sensitive to the fact that Ferrari are Italian as well, but also Williams are a good team, and then Benetton, BAR and Sauber are all okay, I suppose. But the fact is, we're going to be continuing to use the same electronics we had this season, and we're using the same ones as Ferrari, which is very prestigious, and just shows that these electronics are actually very good. And then now you can see our brakes. We've announced our brakes, and as you can see, we're moving away from Brembo brakes because we've seen them this season and they weren't really that good, to be honest. I mean, they did the job and we haven't had any brake failures, but just their rating, as we've seen this season, hasn't really been up to scratch. So I've gone for AP Racing brakes. Now, AP Racing brakes do look very good because their overall rating is 100, because expertise is 100 and resources 100. So they're the joint best brake supply in the game. I mean, MR brakes are also rated 100 as well, but I went for AP Racing brakes. That's because, one, they're English, and obviously I'm an English person myself, and I thought I'll go for AP Racing brakes, you know. Actually, I don't know whether MR brakes are English or not, but I've always just tended to go for AP Racing brakes. I think probably because it's got racing in the name. It just seems more trusting to have a brake supply that has racing in the name. It shows that they got true performance to them. And now the annual fee for this brake is 1.5 million, whereas if you look at the fee we're paying for the Brembo brakes, that's 1.1 million. So they are a bit more expensive AP brakes. And as you can see, Brembo do supply the brakes for Ferrari and Jordan, as well as Prost, Benetton and Sauber. So they have got some good clients there, but, you know, I think, you know, even though I was saying about how it's good to have the same parts as Ferrari for the electronics, I just think Brembo have proven not to be that good in terms of brakes. So we're going to move away from the Italian roots of the team and go towards the English roots, you know, like I have, and go to AP Racing because they're rated better. McLaren, Stewart, Williams and BAR all use them. I mean, so do Arrows, but I guess we'll ignore the fact that Arrows use AP Racing brakes and focus on McLaren. The Constructors leaders, the Drivers' Championship leaders are using these brakes, and I think that's a sign of really of how good they are. So I did look up AP Racing brakes, and actually nowadays, I don't know if this applies in 1999, but nowadays Brembo actually own AP brakes, or AP Racing. Their AP Racing is a subsidiary of Brembo, so I think that's really interesting. So essentially, I don't actually think Brembo owned AP in 1999, I don't know, but if they did, then we're not actually moving company, we're just, well, we are technically moving company, but they've got the same overall conglomerate ownership, so that's quite an interesting thing there. We're not really leaving Brembo as such. But also, the other second fact I found out is how AP Racing made the brake calipers that are on the Bugatti Veyron, and, you know, Bugatti Veyron has a lot more weight, and a lot more power than the Minardi F1 car, and for AP brakes to be good enough, or at least brake calipers to be good enough to be on the Bugatti Veyron to stop it, then it should be good enough for us as well, especially as, you know, the car's lighter and got less power than the Bugatti Veyron. They should be overperforming for us, if anything, and it's great, and they should enhance the performance of our car, whereas Magneti Marelli's, you know, we're just keeping the same ones as before. This one, we should see a boost in terms of, you know, braking, well, just in terms of braking, stopping to sit. And it should improve our lap times in tracks such as Monza, where you got to brake from high speeds, and, you know, if you can get that few extra meters braking later, it can help with overtakes, can help with lap times, can just help with everything, and that should really improve the performance of our Minardi. But anyway, so that's everything announced now. So we've announced all of our personnel, as you can see here. We got this year and last year's personnel. That's all there laid out for you to see. And then same with supplies. We announced all these, obviously brakes and electronics, this part, and the engines we announced in the last part of the Minardi Manager Career. So that's everything announced. So I've announced everything. I don't know if any other team has announced everything yet. I'm not entirely certain. I think they're all missing one or two things that they haven't announced yet, but we've announced everything. So there you go. That's how Minardi's going to look next year, and I'm very excited. Obviously, we got a better designer, we got a better technical director, better commercial manager, better drivers, apart from the test driver, but that's irrelevant. And we got much better engines, better brakes, and we're using the same electronics because it's the only component really to Minardi that is good already. So that's brilliant, really. I think it's Minardi, assuming we can survive until next year, we're going to be so boosted in performance. I think that shows really that if anybody doubted that we could take Minardi to win the Drivers and Constructors Championship, I don't think they'll be doubting that anymore, because just judging by those announcements, Minardi's going to be looking really strong next year, especially as no other team is using Mercedes engines next year, which is weird. But anyway, yeah, so we got to focus short term, well, you know, recent events, no, upcoming events, and that's the Hungarian Grand Prix. So Hungaroring, which is an interesting track, not one of my favourites to be honest, but it is an alright track to be honest. And in my F1 2010 career mode, which I did a while back, it didn't serve me pretty well, because from what I remember during my F1 2010 career mode, I remember being upside down just before the last corner, which I'm sure you're seeing a clip of now. I'll probably insert that. Wasn't the best race in the world to be honest, but hopefully, because I won't be driving this time and because it's not F1 2010, we shouldn't end up going upside down like I did in that career mode. At least hopefully not. But Hungaroring, that is in 2 weeks time, so it's the 2nd of August now. So I'll see if there's any news announced. I mean, there probably will be news announced between now and the Hungarian Grand Prix. So I'll see what that news is. So I'll cut to the news now. So I'll see you then. Okay, so hey guys, so we have got some news, as I thought. Lots of it's sponsor news to be honest, but we have got here Sauber confirmed Alessandro Zanardi, and I remember not that long ago that Zanardi was linked, he was rumoured to be going with Ferrari, which would have been very interesting for someone who I've slated all season really for not having that good performances. But I mean, I think it's not just me that thinks he hasn't done well this season. Lots of other people think he hasn't done well. That's why Williams are dropping him, and that's why he's going to Sauber. And actually, Williams dropped him for Takaki, so I think that says a lot. Williams have got rid of the worst driver this season and replaced him with probably the second worst driver this season, at least in this F1 Manager Career mode. I'm not saying the real life season, but I'm about just this career mode. But yeah, Zanardi, clearly people haven't thought his performances were good. Even though he was linked to Ferrari, he's actually gone to Sauber. I know Sauber's kind of linked with Ferrari in that way, so I suppose the rumour is sort of accurate, because Sauber are kind of partnered with Ferrari, especially at this time. But yeah, there you go. So Zanardi's driver number 2 for Sauber, which should be interesting for them. I don't know who their driver number 2 is at the minute. think it's Pedro Diniz, is it? I don't know, but we've just got all the sponsor information. And is there any other news to it? Statement from Arrows, that is, they are retaining the services of Richard West, who is their commercial manager. So there's no change there. They're keeping their commercial manager, Richard West. He must have done alright for them, to be honest. I mean, Arrows have been able to stay afloat. They're seemingly in positive money because they haven't gone administration like other teams in recent times. Although Manor are coming out of it. But anyway, that's irrelevant. Statement from Arrows, Richard West being retained. So, you know, I mean, we have seen quite a few switches of personnel, but this is one of the few where the person's actually staying at the same team. So, you know, he's done alright there, Richard West, and he looks, I know I keep on bringing this up, but he looks better than Les Olsen as well. So, I mean, in terms of, he looks more trustworthy than Les Olsen. And then Sauber might be using Petronas engines next year, which, well, I mean, look at their name. They can't lose Petronas engines, surely not. I mean, their name will have to change. It won't change because I know what this game's like. But let's say if they go for Peugeot engines, they have to be called Sauber Peugeot. But no, they've got to keep Petronas engines, surely. But we'll wait and see about that. And then we just got more no, we haven't. BAR confirm Laurent Redon, who I'm guessing is French. With a name like that, he's got to be French. But anyway, he is now the new driver number 2 at BAR, which means he must be replacing Ricardo Zonta, because I'm pretty certain Jacques Villeneuve renewed his contract for BAR, if I remember. Well, obviously, you can check down the description of this video to see if I'm wrong. But yeah, BAR seems to have confirmed Laurent Redon as driver number 2, and he's only getting 203,000 salary a year, which must be a lot cheaper than Ricardo Zonta, so maybe there's some cost cutting going on there, I don't really know. And the new components deal for Sauber, that is that they are going to be using Petronas engines next year, at $15.6 million, which is a lot cheaper than our deal with Mercedes engines, but as I've said, Mercedes engines are a lot better than Petronas engines, so. But anyway, Sauber won't have to change their names, that's good. Their logo is still accurate, so that's good to see. And that's the end of the news, apart from obviously all the sponsor news. And now I've just got weekly reports from, well, my designer, commercial manager, and technical director, and that's it. So we still got about 5 days till the start of the Grand Prix weekend. So I'll see if there's any news, and if there isn't, I'll cut to the practice report around Hungaroring. So I'll see you then. Okay, so hey guys, so we have got some more news. Well, actually, there isn't actually a lot of news. We've just got Williams confirm Massimo Cusimano as their commercial manager, because obviously we're not retaining the services of him because we have replaced him with Stefano Domenicali, of course. So Williams are going to be taking Massimo Cusimano, and actually Williams are paying him only $1,000 more than we are at the minute, so you know, Massimo's not doing that much better off going to Williams, but obviously it's a much higher team, and Massimo's proved himself to be quite useful for us, obviously, filling up all the sponsor spaces, getting us merchandising deals for mugs, and something else, I can't remember. I don't know, but he's got 2 merchandising deals, so he's proven himself to be quite good, and that's why Williams are taking him on as their new commercial manager, so I'm proud for Massimo Cusimano. He's going on to do great things, much like we as a team are. So good on him, and you never know, if he improves, we might employ him later on, even though actually people don't improve in this game, but hypothetically. And then there's just a sponsor message, but I thought I'll click on it because there's nothing else really. Where it's IMASF. I've never heard of them, but they're going to pay $280,000 over 4 races. That's $70,000 a race for Prost. And then finally, we got a rumour of how Benetton might be using Ford Zetec engines. I'm pretty certain we've seen this rumour before. Actually, I'm pretty certain we've seen quite a few rumours recently surrounding what engines Benetton are going to be using, and we still haven't heard of a confirmation from Benetton themselves as to which engines they're going to be using, even though we've seen lots of rumours from lots of different engines. But if that's another team that decides to go for a worse engine this year, because obviously Jordan and McLaren both interestingly went for Ford Zetec engines. If they do, then they're going downhill as well. So, and obviously Ferrari don't go downhill in terms of engines because they always use their own engines, and so do Arrows, but Arrows are the worst engines in the game, so I don't know why they wouldn't get some new engines. But I don't know, whatever. Benetton will be possibly using Ford Zetec engines, which would be a downgrade for them. And that was it, that was all the news. So yeah, all we got is an email from Massimo Cusimano telling us that he's left Minardi. Well, he's going to be leaving us at the end of the year, which obviously we saw in the news. He's going to Williams, but he says he wants to thank us and everyone in the team for all the support that he's had whilst working here and every success in the future. So he's left with good grace. And obviously we've given him a lot of support. You know, he's never really done anything wrong for us, so I've never had any reason to moan at him. And if you look, we started the year with about 5.5 million. We're now got 13.4 million. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the work he's done. He's proud to have been working at us. And he's wishing us all the best in the future. So that's really good to see. That he's leaving us in good grace. But anyway, that's all the news, and it is the 13th of August, the day before the Grand Prix weekend starts at Hungary, so I'm guessing we're going to head off to that. And I already said track, which I don't like that much. I mean, it's alright, and it's had a very long, uninterrupted history in F1, I think, since the 70s, really, if I'm correct. But yeah, it's an alright track, not my favourite, but hopefully, you never know, if it gets us some points this weekend, then it will become my new favourite track, to be honest. It probably will. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if we can score some points. And we'll see if we can beat Nigel Mansell's lap record, which I doubt we will. But that's something to aim for, 1:18.3. And I'll see you at the Hungaroring for the practice report around there. So I'll see you then. Okay, so practice has just ended around Hungary in 1999, so let's have a look at the results. Michael Schumacher came first, beating his main championship rival by half a second. Of course, that is Mika Häkkinen in the McLaren, who set a disappointing lap time considering McLaren has proven to be the better car this season, and David Coulthard lines up just behind his teammate in third. Heinz Alfredson puts a good performance to the Jordan to come in fourth, Bruns Barrichello comes in fifth, and Giancarlo Fisicella sets a very good performance in the Benetton in 6th. Ralf Schumacher is 7th in the Williams, with Eddie Irvine saying quite a disappointing performance considering his teammate came 1st, he came 8th. Alexander Wurz came 9th with Zanardi in 10th. Johnny Herbert is in 11th, Ricardo Zonta in 12th. Both Saubers line up 13th and 14th with Diniz and Alesi. Johanna Trulli is 15th, Jacques Villeneuve is 16th. Damon Hill has a disappointing position in the Jordan to finish 17th, considering his teammate came 4th. Olivier Panis is in 18th. Both Minardis of Marc Genet and Luca Badoa line at 19th and 20th. Pedro De La Rosa and Tora Takaki line at 21st and 22nd in the Arrows, with Takaki setting a lap time nearly 4 seconds behind his teammate. Okay, so the qualifying session around the Hungaroring in 1999 has just ended, so let's have a look at the results. Michael Schumacher, the person who top qualifying here to set the fastest lap of a 1:20.5. Second was Mika Häkkinen, who was again half a second away from his championship rival Michael Schumacher, with David Coulthard again lining up just behind in third. Eddie Irvine set a good performance to come in fourth, which is much better than his practice pace. And then 5th and 6th, we saw a bit more of a return to normality with the Jordans locking out the third row, those last 2 points positions. Fisicella and Wurz come 7th and 8th in the Benettons, with Ralf Schumacher coming 9th, Bruns Barrichello 10th, Zanardi 11th and Johnny Herbert 12th, showing that the Williams just got an edge on the Stewart this qualifying session. Jacques Villeneuve lines up a good 13th for BAR, with Jean Alesi in the Sauber coming 14th. Ricardo Zonta comes 15th in the BAR, with both Prost lining up 16th and 17th. Their championship rivals, The Minardis line up just behind in 18th and 19th. Pedro Diniz lines up in 20th. And at the back of the grid are the both Arrows, as per usual, with Pedro de la Rosa coming 21st, and Takaki setting a lap time again about 4 seconds slower than his teammate to be firmly at the back of the field. Okay, so hey guys, so here we are, and we've just seen the practice and qualifying report there, and there were some eye-openers there, really. I mean, let me just go back to it and I'll speak to it in a more informal way. I mean, Schumacher beating Hakkinen, which is quite interesting to be honest, but I mean, the key thing for me really is how Takaki can be several seconds a lap slower than his teammate. And Takaki's going to Williams next year as driver number 1, and De La Rosa staying at Arrows. I mean, that just beggars belief. How can you be that slow but yet go to Williams? I mean, I know Takaki scored a point this year, and I think that's why he's going to Williams. But beggars belief, to be honest. And both Prost are lined just ahead of us, which is good. Good to keep an eye on them. Hope they don't score any points. And we've set the race strategy, so Gené's putting in a lap later. I fitted brand new parts, so we're not going to have any part failures, hopefully. So with that all done, that's a sap, oopsie, let's head on to the start of the race. So go to the TV view here, and the grid, Gené's tyres are wobbling there, that's a bit weird, whereas front left is. Good old graphical glitches from F1 Manager, and we're off with both Prosser in sight, which is good. We're holding up a Sauber there. I saw Sauber just tried to whoa, logjam. We've got past BARs and everything, that's brilliant. Except we went inside of a Prost there for a second. We'll just ignore that, gloss over it. And there's a Sauber, I think that's the one who started quite a way down the field. We actually qualified behind both of us, which, whether it is him, that is Diniz then. Which obviously he needs to make up some places, especially as a Lacey qualified quite a bit higher. And look at that look at the train of cars that Arrows is creating. You can barely see it because we're so far ahead, and Gené's in 14th. I don't know where Padova is, but thanks to that log jam at the first corner, which has happened quite a few times recently. We're in 14th, and we're holding up both Saubers there. There's Padova. He is holding up an Arrows, which means he must be quite far down the field. He might be in 21st or something. Yeah, oh, we're behind the train of cars. Great, we're behind the Prost and everything. I mean, Gené's ahead. No, actually, Gené, Trulli's in 13th, it says down there. So Trulli's actually ahead of us. And once there's an overtake, so one Sauber's overtaking the other, surely they, as a team, they should try and focus on overtaking the Minardi and not themselves, but oh, whatever. And here's the section of track where I flipped it on my F1 2010 career mode, and Gené's navigated that perfectly. It's probably because he wasn't driving like an absolute lunatic like I was. Because I don't know what I was doing. And there's Hakkinen, is he out in first? Yeah, he is as well. He's got past Schumacher and Coulthard. I don't know where Coulthard is, but Eddie Irvine was able to get past Coulthard, and that's the first lap of the race with, well, log jams, Hakkinen in first, Gené gaining loads of places. Your typical F1 Manager start, to be honest. So the field should normalise out, you know, as the laps go by. And Jarno Trulli is in 13th. That's worrying. But we are ahead of Panis at the minute. Panis will probably get past us. He just has. And Jacques Villeneuve is stuck down in last, and that's quite embarrassing to be stuck behind both Arrows. I mean, Jacques Villeneuve, he's a world champion. You can't be a world champion and stuck behind Arrows. I mean, I know BAR were a brand new team then, but it's not really much of an excuse. It's quite bad, to be honest. But truly, he's filtered back down the field. He is now in 15th, and Villeneuve is in 21st. So, hopefully for Villeneuve, he'll make his way up the field. And De La Rosa's got past Padova. And that's not a pit stop thing, I'm pretty certain. That is quite embarrassing. Dudot, why are you slipping down the field? And Jarno Trulli, yes, he has had quite a few retirements recently, and good, because he's the good Prost driver, he's the one who finishes higher up, and obviously we don't want Prost to score points. I mean, Panis is still in the race, but Panis isn't quite as good of a driver as Trulli, which means hopefully, you know, Panis will have a driver error as well, because if Trulli can crash, you know, Trulli, a former Minardi driver himself, can crash, then Panis surely might be able to. But, you know, Genet is just behind Panis now. But Villeneuve has got past, and Deniz came out of nowhere. Hopefully Villeneuve will get past Panis. You know, they'll put another car between Panis and points. See, that alliterated there, I like that. And Stewart, well, Johnny Herbert and the Stewarts just had a bargeboard failure there. And Jacques Villeneuve, he's taken him over half the race just to get past the Arrows and Minardis. That's appalling. And Deniz had an electronics failure in the Sauber. And Dudot, why has De La Rosa overtaken us? What has happened there? And Eddie Irvine's had a bargeboard failure, but why is De La Rosa past us? How has that happened? Let me just have a look at the fastest laps. Well, we've set a faster lap than De La Rosa has. And Genet's got past De La Rosa. Now Dudot has, so that's good. And where's Panis? He's still in 13th. Come on, Villeneuve. Go on, get past Panis, please, Villeneuve. Hands on, what is going on? Zanardi's had driver error. Told you he wasn't a good driver. Proven here again this race. And Sauber lumbered with him next season. That's not good for them. But I mean, we've made smart driver choices, they haven't. And Barrichello's retired with a driver error. Olivier passes down in 12th because Villeneuve has got past. And Panis, he's retired, bargeboard failure. So now, come on, I want us to be elevated to the points. It's a long shot. But Genet's in 11th, you never know. With Damon Hill having a driver error, I mean, that's not good. Obviously, we've signed Damon Hill for next year. It's not really good to see him with a driver error. But I know Damon Hill's a good driver. But Dudot's just had suspension failure, along with De La Rosa and Ralf Schumacher. And we replaced this suspension at the start of the race, but Genet's the quicker driver. He might be able to sneak into points. I doubt it. And Benetton are going to get a double points finish by the looks of it. Genet's up into 9th. He's not going to do it. Benetton's going to finish. Yep, there you go. Benetton's a finish. But crucially, Prost. Well, none of the Prost scored points. That's the crucial thing. And Villeneuve, I've just seen, after all of that, after all of those overtakes, Villeneuve had a driver error. I mean, he clearly wasn't driving that well that race. I mean, he was way behind both Arrows and... Well, he got stuck behind Arrows and Minardi for a long time, so... And then Ralf Schumacher again. When has he finished a race this season? He must have done at least once. Must have done. It keeps on retiring. I mean, half of them aren't his fault, to be fair, but... I mean, speaking of Schumacher, well, his brother came in first with both McLaren. So McLarens have actually scored the same amount of points as Ferrari in terms of constructors, but obviously Häkkinen's losing out in terms of the drivers. So that's not really good for him. And David Coulthard finished almost 2 minutes behind Häkkinen. That's quite embarrassing. But yeah, there you go. Crucially, Prost didn't score points. That's what matters. That means we've retained our 10th place in the Constructors' Championship. And I've said it many times before, but as long as Prost don't score points, I'm perfectly fine with that, because we just need to get till next year. Really, this year's just kind of... We just need to make our way through this year. And next year's when it's really going to get interesting, to be honest. So yeah, Ferrari went Hungary. So that means Schumacher should be leading the Drivers' Championship now. Let's just have a look at these race reports. Obviously, let me just quickly, because I will forget before I record the next episode, we'll replace Dudot's suspension. Because obviously that failed. That at the Hungary Grand Prix, didn't it? Which is a shame, but at the end of the day, it didn't really make any difference. Gabriel Chiedozi. We're not using our most advanced engines. That's something I should have said, actually. If I can get onto it. We have well, Ford ran out. They didn't send us enough of their third model engines, and we've run out. So we're now using second model engines, and we've only got 7 of them left. I mean, we've got enough engines. We've got 17 engines to last about 5 races, so we've easily got enough engines. But you know, we got a downgrade in horsepower. I mean, only by 1. But could explain why Arrows are getting past us, possibly. I don't know. But anyway, and then Massimo Cusimano is also going to Williams next year, as we've seen. Has generated a further $1.93 million, which is why we're doing so well financially, and is why he's going to Williams along with Takaki. Should be an interesting season for Williams. Obviously Takaki, Schumacher, well, Ralph Schumacher, Massimo Cusimano, many interesting things. I'm pretty certain they signed someone good, actually, another good personnel contract. I can't remember. Well, as I said, it'll be down in the description for Williams and all the other teams' contracts next year. But here we are. So we're at Spa Francorchamps for the next race. Could be an interesting race. So it's a power track, and obviously power tracks don't really favour our lackluster Ford Zetec engine, especially when we're not even using our most advanced model of engine. But you never know. Spa has got a tendency to cause a lot of retirements, and you never know those. If we do have a mass amount of retirements next race, then we could sneak into the points, and as long as Prost don't, then that's fine. And speaking of which, before I forget, we'll get an update on the driver's standing. So Schumacher's being Hakkinen by 2 points. With Coulthard now being Irvine. Are Stewart still the best of the rest? Yes, they are actually, but they're still the best of the rest. And McLaren are just edging Ferrari on points there, with us crucially, that one crucial point that puts us in 10th in the Constructors and not 11th, which means, well, 10th place I keep my job, not 11th, and I'm sacked, and then that's the season over. Well, that's the whole series over, to be honest. But here we got Eddie Jordan's now rated higher than us. Ron Dennis is now rated very highly. But I think Paul Stewart is I think it's fair enough that he's rated very highly, because he's beating Williams and Stewart, Williams and Jordan, so he's doing a good job there. To be third in the Constructors, against all odds, really. So yeah, we'll see if those Constructors or driver standings change, or the manager ratings change. So we'll see if that changes for the next race around Spa. A very interesting track. High speed one. Shouldn't really favour our Minardi, but you never know. We'll see if we can claw some points in. Even if we don't, as long as Prost don't, then that's fine. But we'll see what happens next time. So I'll see you then.